Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, greatly appreciate the support. Thank you guys for checking out this episode, whether you've been with us from the beginning, whether you just started joining us. I'm so appreciative that you guys are here on this journey and ready to listen to a really interesting conversation about a topic that is a very specific and very unique and is a very unique and interesting position, I think, for a coach to be in, and definitely one that I am very excited to pick my guest brain about. And that's the idea of coaching a team that has really talented players, got guys who have big aspirations for the game, whether it's basketball or another sport, these high caliber athletes, these high talented players, and being able to take those guys and then put them in a situation where they're playing as a team and being successful as a team. And as we know, as basketball coaches, it can be sometimes very individual based. So the concept and the idea of, bringing individual guys and getting them to believe in a common goal and a common identity and work towards something is something I think that's really, really interesting. So if you're in that position, you have a bunch of guys or girls that have talent, and you want to work on how do I bring them in and how do I make it so that we're a true team. That's what we're going to get into today. Very happy to have as my guest on this episode, head boys basketball coach at Shawnee Mission Northwest High School, Coach David Birch, joining us today. Coach, again, appreciate you being able to come on and talk to us. How are we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for the induction. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Coach, let's start with I'll kind of break this up into two parts. One about this past season you had, but before we do that, Coach, let's talk about you and your basketball journey and your coaching journey. Talk us through how you got into the game of basketball, how you got into coaching, and ultimately how did you get to Shawnee Mission Northwest?
Sure. I probably have a journey that's a unique journey that a lot of people didn't take, but I'm from Kansas City. Shawnee Mission Northwest is in Kansas City. I'm from here, played high school here, played college at a NAI high school, which is about 45 minutes outside of the city. Had a really good college career. Ended up being all-time leading scorer, Hall of Fame, down at Ottawa University. And then after that, I kind of had a couple of overseas things that didn't quite work out, and somehow got in front of the Washington Generals playing, and then they offered me to come to camp, and then I spent the next 6 years as the player coach for the Washington Generals on the Harlem Globetrotters tour, and I traveled around the world and around the country for almost 6 years, 41 countries, 49 states. Red Klotz, who owned the Washington Generals, actually died in 2015, which then released some people out of a management position, which was me. Went home, was training some kids because I would train a lot of times in the off season or when I was home. Mm-hmm. And I was training some good players and had a Hall of Fame coach walk in the gym and say he had a spot open as an assistant on his team. Want to know if I wanted to be a part of it. I originally wasn't sure, so I went over and watched the team play. And I think after about the fifth dunk and about 5 minutes that I was there, I said, yeah, I want to do this one. So I was an assistant coach at Blue Valley Northwest High School under the Hall of Fame legend in Kansas City, Ed Fritz. We won 3 straight Kansas 6A state titles. After that, I got the head job at Piper High School, which is out of KCK. It was a 4A school. It was the COVID year. We went 22-1 in my first season. And then I took the Kansas 6A head job at Shawnee Mission Northwest. This was my 4th year. Next year will be my 5th. And we're coming off a 25-0 Kansas 6A state championship also. So that's where we're at now.
Fantastic. And Coach, I can safely say of the 200 plus interviews of these, your journey is truly unique. I don't think anyone's had that sort of basketball experience the way that you did. So you are correct on that point. That's awesome. Talk about a little bit about this past season. We're going to really get into probably a lot of details about this past season, but just kind of talk about the journey of this team that you had over the past year, and in general. Was there a lot of bumps along the way? Was it something where you had a plan in place, and the guys were executing well? In general, how would you kind of describe this journey for this incredible season that you had over the past year?
I think this time last year, we thought we would have a good team. I don't think you ever think you're going to go undefeated and win every single game, but we thought we would have a good team. We had a lot of guys that played the year before varsity. We played that year. We played a lot of sophomores and a freshman, and then on top of that, experience on the varsity level with a group that did go to the state tournament. We had our JV team went undefeated, so we knew we had a good mix of guys that had played JV the year before, went undefeated, knew how to win, were seniors, experienced, good athletes. And then on top of that, we had guys coming back that had played a lot of varsity minutes as a
Mm.
young guy, as a sophomore and as a freshman. So we thought we had a really good mix in there. We got the big kid, Ethan Taylor, 2026, who's ranked top 100 in the country. We have Keaton Wagler, who I think after this weekend we'll probably have around 3 or 4 Division I offers as well. And then we got 3 other kids that will probably play a high level in college. And then we had 4 seniors. All of them played off the bench this year. One signed, or it's going to be 2 signed Division III, and then 1 signed community college for track, and the other one signed community college for football. So another
No.
thing that we really focus on is having guys reach their goals, and all those guys
Sure.
had goals of playing in college or going to college for another sport. And we wanted to assist in any way that we can on top of our team goals, and we were able to reach all of them this year, so it was a really good year for us.
Awesome. Coach, before we kind of get into the process of bringing all of this talent together, I wanted to talk about yourself offensively in the sets that you run. One of the things that you mentioned when we were talking before we started recording is that you have anywhere between 30 and 40 that you can get into. And so I wanted to ask you about the process of putting in offensive sets, deciding what it is that you wanted out of those sets, the idea of developing your offensive philosophy. So kind of talk us through this process of these offensive sets and its implementation, and kind of the reason behind the ones that you have in.
Yeah, we do. I also in my been a head high school coach, been an assistant high school coach, also done AAU coaching, coach for the MoCan group, which is a big group out of here, out of Kansas City. And MoCan that's kind of where I first saw, a big playbook. I think as a player, I didn't love running a lot of set plays. I liked a lot more freedom. We kind of try to have a little bit of mix here where we're playing in our continuity stuff, but then when we see a mismatch or we see an opportunity on the defense, maybe something they're doing that we have a play that we can go to. I also am just, early in my head coaching career, somebody would go to a defense that we might have had a continuity in for, but we didn't have a set to get a really good shot. And I wanted to make sure no matter what
Mm.
somebody played us, that we had something in that we could go to that could at minimum get us a good look. And, when you got a lot of good players, you got a lot of options on that. But I think um, my first assistant coaching job when I was at Blue Valley Northwest, I tell a lot of people the best thing that happened was I got kind of put in charge of the huddle. So I'm getting all the tapes from other teams. I'm trying to put together clips from our team, from other
Yeah.
teams, what they're doing. But it also gave me an opportunity to see what everybody else was doing. And when I was an assistant, I would write some things down like that. That's a really good action, or that's a really good look right there, or I like how they did this there. And then when I got to be a head job, I got to kind of implement all the things that made sense with our team. And it also only works when you got a high IQ team, which I feel like we have because of the experience and guys that have played high level AAU ball, or travel ball, or even just with our JV and varsity teams where they've done a lot of that stuff before. So when we do get in something, we got 5 guys out there really concentrating on executing it.
And as you continue with your coaching journey, what is now your process of kind of fine tuning this offensively, your sets? Is it going to change at all based on personnel that you have, or what's kind of the process as you kind of tweak from year to year, kind of knowing that you never really truly have the same roster 2 years in a row?
Yeah, this year we have all 5 starters, so it's a little unusual. So,
Mm.
but I think, you always know that everybody's when you go undefeated, especially people are watching tape on you to figure out how to beat you. So you better be on the
Yeah,
same
get
end of
everyone's best shot. Yeah.
trying to get ahead of that also and seeing, okay, this is kind of what they did last time. What might they try and do? And also the coaching journey of being a head and assistant coach. You get to see, what other people tried to do against you, and always kind of try to have a plan for that. That you may see some things that maybe you haven't seen before. Somebody might try and match up a different way, and so we might put in some new stuff based on what we think some people might try and do to stop us, even though we do have everybody back.
Hmm.
But on the same end, you think about yourself, I think, defensively and what's difficult for us to guard. And when you know
Yeah, we do.
that, you can think, well, if it's hard for us to guard, it's probably going to be hard for them to guard, and that can depend on personnel. But we might put in something just to put the other team in a bad spot or a tough rotation where it gets one of our better guys a good look where they can make shots from.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I like that point that you mentioned, right, about considering the success that your team had, right, that that everyone's going to be planning for you, and then you're kind of thinking of those counters to what it is they're going to do against you, and there's always those adjustments to be made, even if you are bringing the 5 back like you are. So appreciate you mentioning that. Um, let's get into that the idea of this group that you had in particular this past year about bringing this team together. You have a bunch of talented individuals, a bunch of guys who are gifted and talented, and they now need to come together, buy into a team concept, buy into a team vision, and play for one another. Talk about what kind of goes into kind of bringing those guys together so that they're thinking of themselves as part of something bigger than themselves.
That's the hard part, right? That's I think a lot of people look at teams and say, "Man, if I had all that talent, we would win all these games too, or we would do better, or whatever it is." But it can be difficult to coach talented players because you want it to be a team concept. I think first, what you have to do with everybody is have those individual meetings, and they have their personal goals, and you want to make sure that you're mindful of what their personal goals are, and then what the team goals are as well. And I
Hmm.
think where we've been beneficial is getting the players to see the alignment in that if our team wins, then everybody can get their personal goals attached with that. I think that's one of the biggest thing is getting people to trust the coaching is first off, because a lot of times you have talented players been coached at a high level for a long time, even before they got to high school. They kind of have their personal goals. They have maybe some people in their ear. They have a
Yeah.
trainer. They have,
A
their AAU
lot of
team.
adults in their life. Yeah.
There's a lot of things in there. And so earning the players' trust, I think, is first. Both schools where I took over as a head coach the first year, about 20 minutes after I got the job, I'm on the phone with what I would consider the best player. I think that's important. You get your best, most talented guys to buy in to the team concept, and then it becomes easier with the other players. But if your best guy, most talented guy, is not bought into the team, then that's going to be really difficult to do. No matter what you say or what your practices or what drills you're trying to do to promote the way you want to play, if the guy that is going to be out there the most and probably have the ball the most and probably take the most shots is not bought into it, then it's not going to work. And so that's always the first thing, taking those individual meetings,
Hmm.
hearing what they want out of the situation too, letting them speak first. They might have goals of being all league and all that stuff. And then we kind of just show them, after we hear their personal goals, we show them some data, okay, who was the first team all league last year? Let's look at this. Okay, that guy's on a winning team. That guy's on a winning team. That guy's on a winning team. So we got, 4 out of the 5 guys are all on the top 2 teams in the league. What do you think do you think that goes together? Is that aligned? Or well, okay, now we know that winning basketball is going to lead to more people with all league opportunities, postseason honors, and then that leads to AAU opportunities. Then that leads to, the next phase, because I think everybody wants to come in and, average 20 and they got a D1 offer within, a couple weeks of being on the team and everything's great. But for most people, it just doesn't work out that way. You have to learn how to play, show that you have a high IQ for the game, show that you're a winning basketball player, and show that you can play within a team. We say that in all of our meetings too. How many guys are going to leave here and walk into their school and be the number one option wherever they're going to college? It's not very many. It
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
It's possible. But you're going to have to learn to play a role and learn how to play without the ball and learn how to play with other good players. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to be at a new school or you're going to be, on the bench, and it's going to be a tough situation for you. So we try to teach them those things here. And it helps when you have really good players and when your leader is bought into it. I think everybody else does it too.
Yeah, so when you're sitting down with these players, right? You're having these individual meetings. You talked about how you're going to talk about, their goals and what it is that they're looking to get out of this. When in general, obviously every player is a little bit different, but in general, when you're talking to these guys, what are some of the questions maybe they have, the concerns they have? What are the things that you as a coach have to kind of work through with them, or kind of, talk through with them to make sure that they're in a good mindset? What sort of, questions or things are kind of on their mind that you feel like you're discussing with these guys?
Well, most people, and this is not uncommon, most people, when we come in those individual meetings, they start talking about goals. They start talking about scoring goals, right? They start
Hmm.
talking about, where they want to see their game, what skills they want to develop, the points, how the rotations are going to be, stuff like that is normally kind of where most of those conversations go. You might have somebody who, might be a little conditioned to interviews and maybe what I want to hear, and they'll tell me things like rebounding and defense because they know that's what I want to
That's what
hear.
you want to hear. Yeah, yeah.
But is that always what's on their mind? Most people, whether they say it or whether it's not, it's about, how much am I going to score? What are we going to do offensively? Am I going to get better as a player and get recruited? That's really what most people is with. And I have to be honest in that meeting too. If you tell somebody they're, oh yeah, you're going to score 20 a game and take as many shots as you want to, and then you come out there and coach differently, well, you weren't honest either. So I think you have to
Yeah.
be honest in those meetings, and I'm very honest. I say, hey, look, we got 5 really good guys. We're if we're doing what we're supposed to do, probably everyone's going to average around 11, 12, 13. And you have to be okay with that. That we have too many good guys for one guy to just be taking all the shots and averaging 25 points a game. Because then we're not using the best. We're not doing what's best for our team. And we got to be unselfish. We got to understand that everyone else has goals, and so do you. And we got to be willing to help them reach their goals. My college coach used to say, help somebody else get what they want, and then you
Hmm.
will in turn get what you want. And we've tried to really live by that, let people understand, hey, you're probably going to get, maybe 10 shots a game. But here's what you wanted. If you want those numbers or you want high numbers or things that are going to look good, you got to be really efficient then when you get those opportunities. So then we really try and focus here on efficiency. The shots that I'm going to get, I got to make, because if I'm not making them and somebody else is, well, we're always going to ride the hot hand.
Hot
And
hand.
that's got to be something
Hmm.
I'm going to be okay with, that there's going to be games where I'm going to have 20, 25, and I was the hot hand and everybody's giving it to me. But then on the same note, I got to be willing to score 4 or 6 and let somebody else have the hot hand. But then in those games, show what else I can do. Because if all you can do is shoot the ball, or you're only good when the ball's in your hands, or you're only good about 10% of the time, because 50% or 90% of the game you don't have
90%.
the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah.
So, that those are the games where I can really show off my defense and rebounding and hustle and my value beyond just a score. And we try and really harp on that. That those guys, when it's not your night shooting the ball, scoring the ball for whatever reason, then I show the rest of my game. And we had a group that really bought into that this year, which is it's hard to do. It's hard to get somebody. Everyone says, yeah, I'm bought into the team until that 2 point, 4 point night. And then all of a sudden, body
Hmm.
language changes and all those things change. But I think it's constant communication. saying, hey, 4 points tonight, but look at the game logs. Like, we have a guy get 4, next night he could get 20. You just got to stay ready, keep doing all your things. Nobody's lost confidence in anything. And when you don't have the ball, that's a chance to show the rest of my game. And you never have to have an off game on the defensive end. You never have to have an off game rebound on the basketball. So those are things you can always do well, no matter what, if the shot's going in or not.
With what it is that you said, I think that's something that as coaches, when we get these guys who have, you could see like the talent there. You can see like you mentioned about the scoring ability, right? These are guys who can put the ball in the bucket. They can get a lot of points in the game. But to your point, it's also like, well, 90% of the time you're not going to have the ball in your hands. So like, what other skill set do you bring to the table? And I'm wondering for you, like, is that how many of those conversations were you having with your guys where maybe they're, great and individually they're great scorers, but you notice that they're maybe not as efficient in other manners or they're lacking in other areas of the game. How do you kind of go about those conversations with these guys who, are probably pretty confident in themselves. A lot of people are high on them and they're getting a lot of looks and they're getting a lot of offers. But you as a coach notice that, hey, there's these definite weak spots here. There's things that aren't where they need to be. How do you kind of make sure you're pushing those guys to make sure that they understand that, their game isn't perfect, even if they are, highly talented and capable?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the biggest thing too, when you're dealing with high school players is,
Hmm.
understanding what being really good is and what it isn't, and what is good basketball and what is not good basketball. Cause I think, this is a podcast. If you got high school coaches listening, they'll tell
Hmm.
you the toughest thing they have is shot selection. What is a good shot? Because you might say we're playing team ball, and people might genuinely think that they're doing it. So I think first, when you get a team, you got to kind of define what team basketball is, what good basketball is, and what we're looking for. And we'll go ahead and define it for you. Like, a good shot is a shot you make consistently over 50%, or a shot is if I'm open, and we define open by an 8-foot radius around you. And we'll even go in the first day of practice and we'll put a guy out on the 3-point line. We'll put a defender right there and we'll say, okay, this guy's within 8 feet. Is this an open shot? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, now back up. This is an open shot. So really finding out, okay, what is a good shot? What is an open shot? Okay, and then going from there. And then just in our film study of our practices, in our games, we watch them as a team. We'll pull it up on the TV. Some games we'll watch a full game or a full half. Usually our Saturdays after our Friday game, we will watch the full game, mainly because Saturday we want a lot of recovery, skill based stuff. We're not necessarily going live on a Saturday unless I'm really ticked about what happened on Friday, but not usually. So we'll watch the full game film and we'll break down every possession. Okay, was this a good possession or was it a bad possession? Is that a good shot or is that a bad shot? You're kind of open here, but hey, look in the corner. Okay, that's Tyler over there. Tyler, let's look at the numbers. Tyler shoots 44% from there. What do you think you should do there? Oh yeah, make the pass. Okay. So then, first we define what we're looking for, what good basketball is, what an open shot is, what a good shot is, and then just using our practice film and our game film to look at every possession and say, okay, yes, that was something we want to be doing, or no, that wasn't very good. And then if it's not very good, what was the better play? And then just learning. And then, I mean, every season that we have early in the season, it's a little sloppy
Hmm.
because people, might have added something to their game, or think that they're a higher percentage from a place than they are, or we haven't had that good continuity yet. So we're kind of playing a little bit sloppier. But as you go, if you're doing that every game, every practice, talking about it, and then making sure that everybody has the rules that they have. Okay. If our best guy is taking bad shots, I got to tell people he's taking bad shots. I got to tell him he's taking bad shots. I got to be willing to do it, in front of people. I think that's, a lot of times where people go wrong is, their best guys have different rules. And I do understand that when there's a big gap in talent between that best guy and the next guy, that it may be best for the team that he goes 1-on-4, 1-on-3 sometimes. But I think you, as a coach, when you're willing to coach everyone and that everyone has maybe not identical rules, because obviously players are different, but that you have to be, as a coach, show that you're going to correct everyone, no matter who it is. And when they see that you're fair, when they see that you're given the same message, when they trust you because of the meetings that you've had, I think you get a lot more buy-in that way.
Yeah, those meetings that you talk about, Coach. I mean, those seem absolutely vital. Like that connection with those guys, and that you're still talking to them, you're checking up on them, you're always kind of having those conversations about what's happening and what's going on. It sounds to me like having that consistent communication and talking to your guys on a regular basis and making sure everything's on the same page. To me, it sounds like that's something that seems to be essential to make sure that, little problems or little issues get taken care of right away and don't fester into something greater.
Yeah, I think, probably more so now,
Hmm.
than maybe, when I was a player, we would have our preseason meeting and our postseason meeting. And really there wasn't a lot in between unless there was an obvious problem or, something where the coach really felt like he needed to meet with you about. And that was really all we met. I think now, in 2024, I think because of just there's a high level of anxiety amongst players. Am I getting the offers I want? What do I got to do here? There might have been people where they didn't have a good experience with the team. Maybe it was a summer team and they, start feeling like it's going to happen again, or the same type of things are going to happen. So I really do feel that, now that you have to have more communication than maybe you used to back in the day.
Hmm.
And it's a little bit of a chore as a head coach, to be honest with you. You got your practices, you got all the stuff that you're doing, and you got to just kind of take a few times. And sometimes it isn't even more than 5 minutes. Like, hey, I saw yesterday you had your head down about this situation. What are you
Hmm.
thinking there? And they might tell you what they're thinking. Okay, well, here's a different way of thinking about that, and here's what we're looking for, and here's how I think this can help you. And maybe just things like that every now and then. But I think having that constant communication, whether it's once a week, just to make sure everybody's staying on the same page, because so quickly somebody can be down on the team, or so quickly somebody from outside the team could say something that got in their head that now they think is important that maybe not be important. So I think having that as individual and constant team meetings, communicating what we're looking for, if we had a problem, making sure we address it right away. But I think the communication is big.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Things like you mentioned, right? With the kind of the age that we're in now, these things can move really quickly, and if you don't check in with your guys or your girls on a routine basis, you're gonna
Somebody
miss
could
out
be
on
a
a
whole
lot of
different
stuff that's
school.
going on, and you might be playing a lot of catch up, trying to kind of figure out everything that happens. So yeah, I like that a lot about that communication. You talked about. We touched on a little bit about practices, and so I want to ask about, with guys that are talented and skilled and really have a lot of ability. What goes into putting a practice plan together that's really emphasizing the things you want to work on as a team and also still getting them better? How did you go about this process of designing practice plans that you thought really worked on your team concepts and also were really pushing your guys to get that much better?
We try to get our practices. We try to stay real competitive in a lot of our
Hmm.
drills that we're doing. We do all the stuff that a lot of people do with the shell drill and the 5-on-5 stuff and the rebounding stuff, but we try to make it real competitive. So whenever we're going, we'll have a game. We'll put the rules, implement the rules that day for that game, and sometimes those can change based on maybe what we're working on or what we're trying to emphasize. Maybe one day we're going 5-on-5 full court, but nobody can dribble that day. So we're just trying to get open and trying to pass the ball. And then, we split up teams. We try to make it kind of even amongst some talent, so it stays competitive. And then we chart winners. And if you're losing drills, then you're getting some extra conditioning in. If you're winning drills, then you don't have that because you did what you needed to do to win, and you won with the players on your team. And trying to stay too. If one guy's winning a lot, when maybe we get his team a little worse that day, and just kind of see, how does he react? How can he do it with, less talent on his team? Can he put guys in the right spot where, they do things well? I think all that's important about being a leader too. You're constantly changing your role based on who's on your team. So if I have a guy who normally doesn't run the point, but for whatever reason his practice team that day in the drills, he has to do it now because he's the only one that can. Is maybe the other guys aren't very good, or maybe one team has no big one day. Okay, well now what are we going to do? We're going to front the post with, backside, and I kind of let them at least initially try and figure that out kind of on their own. How are we going to guard people with the personnel that we have today? And then if it's, unsuccessful, maybe I'll throw out a few ideas, hey, you've played behind this guy now 4 times in a row and he scored, when are you going to make an adjustment?
Yeah.
What are we going to
Something's
do
got
here?
to change, right?
Yeah. So I kind of let them try and figure it out. I think that, helps also with like in-game stuff. If we're struggling, okay, what worked in practice to get us back on the same page, and keeping everything competitive. I think if you have guys that don't care whether they win or lose a drill or the running doesn't bother them, then that's a whole nother thing. You got bigger problems. But I think feed into guys competitiveness and like, okay, here's the teams today. Let's see who can get it done with the team that they're on. And I always love doing things that way. But then we'll have our individual skill development too. We always have that kind of usually at the end of practice when you're tired, because anybody can look good in a skill drill when they're super fresh. So trying to get them to go through that, and we'll have them working on some things, both that they think they need to work on and we think that they need to work on. We kind of try and keep those things together. We're not, if you think you need to add a triple move fadeaway, we may disagree. So we're not going to work on that in skill development today. But here's what I think you need to do. And here's where maybe some of the other things that you want to do could be put in maybe on this side of the floor or in this spot, and then trying to do things that way. So I think you're both working on things for the team, but also kind of having them work on their individual stuff. We got the 7-footer. I think it would be a shame if we just only did, hey, you're on the block, turn around, shoot. He has goals of playing in the NBA. What is the NBA? He's got to work. He's got to have a skill development day where he's working on threes. Now we may not be shooting them yet in the game because our percentages have to get to a point where, that's a game shot in a competitive game. But once it is there, got freedom to do it now. But at the same time, just like in our practices, if I've gone through and we're losing drills and I'm taking a bunch of these shots and they're not going in, I need to make a change. Maybe I need to get something close to the basket. Maybe I need to post here because what I'm doing is not winning the game. And that is what we're all searching for.
I wanted to ask you, Coach, about, unique situations I'm sure your players are in where they have, and we talked about this, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, that, some of these guys, they have so many people in their ear. They have so many things that they're juggling with by being, highly skilled players. We talked a little bit about, the different coaches they got. They have trainers, obviously their parents most likely are invested in them. There's so many adults in their life and so many things that they're navigating. And I wanted to ask you about for you as a coach, how did you kind of work with your guys on kind of working through that, keeping them on track, keeping them on focus? Because I imagine the things that your guys are dealing with and kind of juggling with so many other things going on, it could be difficult. So talk a little bit about that process of kind of making sure guys kind of stayed focused on the mission at hand and were able to kind of sift through all the other noise and surrounding stuff that was probably happening in their lives.
Well, in a perfect world, you're all working together, right? Everybody's working together with the same goal of getting the player better and get them to where they need to go next. So if you're just like you're having meetings with the players, if you have a really good player, you better meet with the parents too. And you may
Hmm.
even better meet with the AAU coach and try to get aligned, make sure that everybody know in a non-threatening way. Cause I think sometimes, you go to the AAU coach and it's your player or it's his player.
Yeah,
It's our
yeah.
guy. It's our guy. We're all trying to help this guy. And so I have conversations with them as well. We'll see him, AAU game, hey, how's so-and-so doing? Is he working on this? How's he look here? Great. What are you seeing? What we could implement, maybe help him do this. Great. Okay. We might try some of that stuff. Same thing with the parents. I mean, meeting with the parents, making sure they know the plan for them. They know what we're trying to coach, team ball, get him ready to go. And that's a trust issue as well. I mean, it helps for me that we now have kind of a background where we've had a lot of these guys and we've gone on and we've shown that players that play here have gone on to do some things that people want to do. And that helps. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that, you got to have some situation where you maybe have done this before, or like, this is my vision. This is why I think it'll work. And this is what I need you to trust me on right here. And so it's the same conversations with the players, but also with the parents, and also maybe with the travel coach, trainer, AAU coach, making sure that you're all on the same page on what the direction is. Because that can happen real fast. If you haven't talked to the parents, or you haven't talked with the AAU guy, and they go out and they have one of those 4-point games, it may be a whole mess on your hands. We might have won, but you got, 3 emails in the email box. You got your,
People aren't
text
happy.
text
Yeah.
messages on red, that whole thing. And so you got to make sure that they understand too. Now, once you've explained what we're doing and the plan, and we're all on the same page, well, then we got to trust me to do it. Like, okay, hey, we said that this could happen. That doesn't mean it's happening every game. That doesn't mean the next game out he doesn't have a mismatch and he can do all these things that we've talked about, and it just didn't fit in this game. Not every game fits the same way. And if he's really, really good, which is he says he wants to be, then he's got to show us he's really good in more than just, like we talked about, more than just one area. Because what most people, they're looking at the shots, they're looking at the points, they're looking at the, all that stuff. But there's so much more that somebody can do. And then recognizing like, hey, he's not very good at this, so we're trying to help him get better at it. Or, we think one day he might have to do some of this, so we're trying to add that too. And making sure everybody knows where we're going. There's nobody on this team, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a parent, whether it's somebody that works the player out, everybody knows where we're going and what we're trying to do. And they don't always have to agree, but they need to know what you're thinking, because that when you get in the guessing game of what the coach is thinking, that's where a lot of things go
Yeah. And
right.
a lot of misinformation can happen there once
Well,
those
and you got to be
assumptions.
willing to be honest also. Like, you can't give these parents this fantasy of you're going to do stuff and then you don't do it. I mean, you have to be 100% honest with everybody all the time. Now, you can change the way in which you say it, or you can
Mhm.
change the way in which it's delivered. Because a lot of people take some things personally too. Like, you say somebody needs to work on this, they might think you're attacking them or whatever. And just the way you say it can go a long way too.
Yeah. The way the message is communicated, and like you said, with these meetings that you have with your players, you kind of get a sense of like how to approach those conversations based on probably their personality and their demeanor and the way things are going. So that is really big, because the way that you say something to one player, if you say it that same way to another, that could have a completely different meaning the way that they take that message in.
Correct.
Yeah.
That not everybody receives things the same, and we're trying to be hard on guys too in practice. Like, hey, I'm going to be demanding, on you in practice. I'm going to be demanding in the game. If you do this thing wrong and we've already corrected it and you do it again, it may come back a little sharper. So nobody's getting anything that they weren't already told on how it was going to be straight from the
Hmm.
beginning.
Yeah. With the really successful season that you had this past year, I wanted to ask you, Coach, about the process of still always looking to improve, still always looking to get better. When you're having as much success as you have, players could have the mentality of kind of losing focus, or not being as sharp, because they're seeing the box score, they're seeing the win, and they think, like, all right, we got everything good, we can settle down a little bit. Talk about that process of making sure that your guys were never completely satisfied, how you kind of kept them going and kept them pushing, and was never kind of letting up as the season was going on.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get complacent. The hard schedule helps getting everybody's shot every night. Got to make sure guys are staying ready. Got to have an eye in practice when you feel like some guys have gone through the motions today, not allowing that to happen, or not letting it go through unaddressed. I think sometimes as coaches, we're winning. So this practice that's going through, it might not be great, but we're winning. So, we're not going to kill everybody today. I think you got to continue to looking to improve. We won last game, but we didn't do this very well, and if we continue not to do this very well, this team down the road is going to beat us for that, and then I try to use, I try to use all the motivation that we possibly can. I'm naturally just super competitive. So, I'll, even if I see some things, Twitter or, rankings, we'll pull out anything to try and get people motivated. Hey, we're playing this group tonight, and somebody's got them ranked ahead of you right here. Do you feel like that's an accurate ranking? Well, here's your opportunity tonight to show
Improve
them
it,
that it
show
isn't.
it. Yeah.
And the same thing with player. I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there. You can find anything.
Yeah.
And we'll use it. We'll use it in that pregame speech. Hey, this summer, I heard from some people that they thought this guy was way better than you. And are you gonna end that tonight, or are you gonna let it continue people to think that? They got us ranked number 3. I feel like we're number 1. Tonight we got to show that we're better than these guys, and kind of keep adding to that competitive fire that I naturally have, and we have some players that naturally have it. But if you don't have it, adding some coal and fuel to that fire, whether it's practice or whether it's the game coming up and practice, hey, so and so is kicking your butt today. Maybe he's better than you now. You let one day go by, and now all of a sudden you let somebody catch up to you. You need to get it going today, or he's just going to take your whole lunch. So, and then guys who don't want to run or don't like conditioning, you run in our practices if you're losing. It doesn't matter how many games we've won. This is practice. This is what we're trying to get going. And then always looking at that stuff of, the film, what we're not very good at, and trying to be as airtight as we possibly can, because, it only takes one bad night to lose a game. And, we don't want to go through this thing. We have goals. Here they are. So we got to keep going.
What goes into your film sessions, Coach, when you're working with your guys? You got guys that are obviously probably doing a lot of things well. The team's executing well, but there's always things to improve on, and there's always things that you want to make sure that you're pointing out and that you're emphasizing. So what goes into your film sessions to make sure that your guys really, know either what's coming up or know that, here's what we did well, but here's all these things that we got to work on. Talk about that process of sitting down with your guys on film.
Well, a lot of games, I like watching it first, so I can look at it and kind of go back and see what is important to emphasize, and maybe wasn't, things that weren't as important. But, I mean, you win a game in high school. I mean, you're talking about high school basketball. Even if you won by 30, you probably still had at minimum 20 mistakes on offense, 20 mistakes on defense. There is no high school game that goes mistake free. Now, you might be able to watch like a NBA game 6 where there's, under 10 mistakes being made in that game. And that's why those guys are pros. But there are a lot of mistakes that can always be corrected. And, we'll come down a possession. Sometimes I'll just stop and say, okay, hey, what are we running right here? And somebody, hopefully somebody knows. And
Right.
so we'll look at that and say, okay, where's everybody supposed to go here? And then usually, if I'm pointing it out, somebody went the wrong way or somebody didn't get the call. And be like, hey, look, we're running this play and this guy doesn't know the call because he's over here. He's doing this. What do we got to do in a game to make sure that everybody gets the call? When you hear me call it, you should be shouting, and we should get confirmation before all 5 guys are being where they're supposed to be. And, same thing on defense. What are we doing on this ball screen? Okay, well, why, we're going over. Why'd we go under right here? Well, he made that shot. Well, make an argument because we went under right there. So we got to make sure that we're cleaning that up. But then also, I think for a lot of film sessions too, it can't be all negative. You got to be willing to point out the positive stuff too. Like,
Yeah, they
okay,
need
hey,
that
we
too.
called a good play like here, great read, look at the slip, and we made the pass. That's good basketball. So make sure you're always pointing out what good basketball is and what bad basketball is. And that the good basketball, here's what this leads to. And I'm showing you evidence of that. And bad basketball, here's what this is leading to. Does
Yeah.
everybody see, and just making sure, just a teaching session, do you know what we're doing right here? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Okay, this guy's here. What's the read right here? What did you do? What was the better read? What could you have done differently? Where's the better pass at? And just, possession by possession. If it was a, good possession, why was it a good possession? If it was a bad one, well, what made it bad? What's going on? And I think a lot of times too, especially with young players, is when they're in the game, and something bad happens, a lot of people's first reaction is, well, I called it out. Well, what do you mean? I did that. Well, obviously he didn't hear it. So what do I got to do? So, just because I said it, they want to pass the accountability on to somebody else. We're all accountable for what's going on out here, all 5 guys. If I say something, the guy didn't hear it, we know what our adjustment is because we've done all this before. If some guy, if we're, a flat show on a ball screen and he goes downhill into your chest, we already know that's an automatic switch. And if one guy makes a switch and the other guy doesn't, that's just a layup. So making sure people understand that we're not passing the accountability on to one other person, that we're all accountable for what's going on right here, and pointing out those things in film, pointing out them in practice, pointing them out in the game, and making sure that it's not so-and-so's fault. Yeah, so-and-so made a bad play right here, but what could we have done, to help change that to where you didn't put him in that position?
Let me ask you that, because that's a perfect segue into something I was just thinking about. You're working with these guys who real talented, a lot of skill, and with that, real competitive. High expectations for themselves, high expectations for those around them as their teammates. They want to be on successful teams. They want to make sure that they're playing with guys who, are skilled and capable and talented, and guys they can trust. And I imagine with that, things are going to get, a little emotional. There's going to be guys that maybe get a little upset with each other just based on the competitive nature of I'm sure how your guys are. And I wanted to ask you about that kind of dealing with those situations when your guys maybe are, whether it's a heat of the moment or whatever, getting on each other, or really trying to work things out, but maybe it's, a little bit emotional or a little bit heated. How do you get guys who are, kind of really talented, really competitive, who maybe have some disagreements with each other and are kind of on each other, to kind of refocus and get back on track and get back playing together?
Yeah, I mean, that's another hard thing too, is making sure everybody understands where we're trying to go, what we're trying to do from a team aspect, from team standpoint. One thing that we harp on too is sometimes I like guys, if you see somebody who's not bringing it, handle it as a team. I much rather players handle things before I get involved, but I mean, some things can cross the line. You want to make sure that everybody knows too that what we can say to people and what we probably shouldn't say to people. I always kind of go on, hey, yeah, you're ripping this guy right now, but has anybody ever seen somebody rip a guy and then all of a sudden that guy goes in and plays great? I mean, that just doesn't happen very often, because he thinks, down on the team. It's the player's job to lift each other up and keep that confidence going. And somebody misses a shot, but it was an open shot. It was a shot that we want to shoot. It's good offense. It was the right play. Hey man, shoot that thing again. We're all behind you. When you feel like your teammates are behind you and want you to shoot it, confidence is a funny drug. Confidence can get somebody making shots that they don't normally make, but when somebody on the other end has no confidence, they can look like a shell of themselves. They can look like not even the same player. So making sure that we're all, staying confident, putting confidence in our teammates, knowing what guys have done and what they're capable of doing, and then just harping on making the right plays. We like to chart right basketball plays. Now, whether it was a point, a rebound, an assist, a slip, a screen, whatever it was, we try and chart right basketball plays. And did you make the right play here? And the more times you make the right play, the more good things are going to happen for both you and your teammates.
In the spirit of that answer, and the spirit of what it is that you just said, in the situations you had last year, you get in close games, you're closing games out in the stretch, or you're in situations where you're trying to put a game away, or maybe it's a tie game late. You got a bunch of guys, bunch of skill, bunch of talent, but of course just one ball. And you as a coach need to figure out, all right, what can I do, whether it's a set or something I'm going to run here? What are we going to do these last few minutes to make sure that we, seal this game, put this game away, go up on that? What is your process as a coach of figuring out in those tight kind of late game situations, this is where the ball needs to get to, this is what we need to run, and these are kind of my go-to guys, or go-to, sets in those sort of situations?
Well, I think, the first thing that helps in those situations is the off season, like what we're going to get ready to do here in June. We're playing in three big events where we're going to play really good teams. And those are kind of the times where you can kind of, maybe try something and just kind of see how it works, see where people are comfortable. For us, we talk about execution is huge offensively, and defensively is usually what's going to separate the winner and the loser, especially in a close game. So when we're in a tight one, a lot of times we go back to stuff we've already done. Okay, hey, we did it this way this summer. Remember that? Remember that game against Staley where we all spread out and watched guy go one on one and we lost? Remember that? That's how that felt, and that's how that worked. Let's try this time. Here we're going to run this play right here, and if it doesn't work, we're going to come off, and here's a ball screen. It's going to lead us to our offense, and we just want to make the right plays. Kick it to a guy that's open, jump stop the lane, off two. If we see a guy take a shot, hey, make sure I'm on the glass. And executing, but also on the games that you've already played, on all the practices that you've already done, going back to like, okay, we were in this situation before, and this is how it went down, and this is how things went. Let's try and do this time so we can close this thing out maybe a little bit better, or get it to where we want to go. And I think, depending on where we want to go with the ball in a close game, again, just always depends on the other team's defense. Who's guarding who might have a mismatch, where can we go to get the maybe most for sure 2 or 3 that we could possibly get, who has been struggling defensively to stay with their man. Maybe one guy's getting guarded super tight and his man's not helping. Maybe we make him a screener right here. Maybe it'll open something up. And if they help here, we got a shooter here. So, I mean, all that depends. It can just change on game, but like your mentality and your commitment to execution goes back to just all the games that you've played, all the practices that you've been in, and just relying on that experience that you have in those situations.
Yeah, to your point about what you mentioned about these are things definitely to practice and to simulate a lot. And the more that you can kind of put them in those situations in a practice environment, and like you said, you kind of know who the personnel is that you have, the personnel you might be up against. Those moments, I imagine, and you can speak to this if you wish, that these guys have probably been either in these moments before in their playing career, or like you mentioned, kind of put them in those moments before that. I get the sense that when it came down to it this past season, the moment was not too big for them. It was something that they were able to handle and they were able to execute because they felt comfortable being in that situation. I don't know if I'm correct in that. That's kind of the feeling I get though.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency. Our team, very good team, very big team. We went out there 6'6", 6'4", 6'2", 6'7", 7 feet. That's how we were. And going all the way back to the summertime, what bothered us was really, really heavy physical athletic pressure. That's kind of where we could fall apart at times in games over the summer, where we would struggle to get open. Maybe the refs letting a little bit more go. Athletic guys are just trying to guard us full court, maybe running and jumping, trying to get guys to panic a little bit. And we had a couple of games in the summer where we turned the ball over and ended up losing the game. And so, once you see that's okay, that's what's happening, as a coach, seeing what guys are comfortable in situations where if you got a guy who's every time it gets doubled, he just, panicking and throwing the ball away. Well, two things. Either A, we need to put him in practice where that's happening to him a lot so he can get better at that. And then B, as a coach, put him in a situation where that's more unlikely where he's at than where, maybe another spot. So your off-season evaluations of what everybody's good at and what they can handle. And then what we kind of started doing is like, okay, most teams have a big. We have a big. Let's just use him as a pick. He runs up. Okay, we use him. He runs ahead of the ball. We use him again. Maybe get some of that pressure off. And if they do trap off that, okay, sink back. We'll throw it to you, and then somebody's going to come get the ball, and you can throw it up. And now we have numbers. So we saw what we were not very good at. We wanted to work on getting better at that, both individually and as a team, but also as a coach, you're evaluating, okay, where is everybody comfortable? Who are the best guys in each situation, or where they're at on the floor, and how can we do this better so that when we see this again, we have better action for it, and we got guys out there that are ready for it and have been through it. Um, that's kind of where we kind of saw in every offseason. I think no matter team, that just happened to be the situation for the team before. Other teams that we've had, we thought, okay, we're going to do a lot of pressing this year, and then we get out there and we're just getting knifed up. Okay, maybe we're not pressers, or maybe it's a different press, or maybe we need to. This guy's really good at on ball trapping, but he's not as good here. Okay, well, let's put him in the spots where he is best at, and let's try and keep him in the spots where he's bad at as much as we can. I think that's, coaching more than anything is, okay, what is somebody good at? Let's try and make them do that as much as they can. And then in practice, whatever they're bad at, try and get them better. So
Better.
it's not
Yeah.
a handicap for them. Or if they end up in that spot again, maybe they'll have some more practice to do something else. But also, recognizing, hey, this guy's not very good at this. Let's not have him do it very much. So I think all that goes into all those things.
I love that, Coach. That was great. Had a lot that I just wrote down from what it is that you just said. So I appreciate you sharing that. Crazy, this hour's almost flown by. I want to ask you one more question, Coach, before we hit our concluding segment. That was for you personally as a coach. For you as a coach, knowing that you're coaching a team that's got a lot of talent, there's high expectations. The team has real high aspirations and has a certain level of success that they're expected to have. How did you as a coach kind of handle being calm, being somebody who didn't let all of that, maybe external pressure that others want to put on get to you? And how did you personally kind of stay focused and made sure that things were one game at a time, and that you weren't, thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff about your group, and that you were able to just kind of keep things level for yourself personally?
Well, for start, the experience, when you're assistant on a staff that won 3 Kansas 6A state titles, you've been there before. You've seen a lot of the high intensity games before. You've been coaching in gyms where there wasn't an open seat before and it's very loud. So that experience, I think, carries over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me personally, we try and tell the guys too, like, hey, this is fun. Like, everybody dreams of being on a great team that's got a sellout crowd every game, where the other team's bringing their best every game. All those times in the gym, camps, training sessions. This is for this. This is this should be fun. And trying to remind myself the same thing. Like, hey, what an awesome atmosphere. And not letting it get too much pressure on you. But I've heard a lot of coaches say it, and I do think it's true. You can't get too high off a win, and you can't get too low off a loss. And
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay even keel with the team and trying to focus on just getting better, not always the result of the
Right.
game is always important. But like, hey, this is what we're not very good at. We need to get better at it, and just focusing each day on getting better. And then when you're in those big atmospheres and the tight games, relying on the times that you've been there before, and in the off season, trying to put you in as many of those spots as you can. That's might be awesome that you go 8-0 in the whatever summer league downtown. When you're really challenging yourself to play the best teams, either whether it's just like a scrimmage where you bring another really good team in, and you're scrimmaging one day in June, or you get in these big events like the Midwest Showcase or KU Team Camp or the KMO, or those are all the things we're going to play. And you play these really good teams, really, learning from the experiences of playing them in the off season, to guide you to the season. So I think all those things are big. I think and there's schools that don't do a lot in the summer. I think that's a real missed opportunity. I think,
Yeah,
in the off
absolutely.
season, you get to learn a lot about your team, so that, when, like, if we wouldn't have been doing what we did all summer, we could have faced that heavy pressure in that Grandview game and not knowing what to do, because we hadn't
Yeah.
seen it before. Same thing as coaches. We wouldn't know who's taking the ball out, who should be bringing it down, where's his help at. We wouldn't have known those things if we didn't play those games. And those losses that we took in June are why we won the games when it was in March.
Yeah, it's kind of you take those losses and the amount that you learn from that, right? And use that later on. I had a coach, tell me he's like he said one of the worst things, sometimes as a coach is when we go in the summer and we go undefeated in the summer and it's like, oh man, I don't know if that's what we wanted because now, our guys or girls think that, we're unstoppable or anything like that. You want to face that adversity in the summer because that's where a lot of growth can come from.
Yeah, you want to be put in spots where somebody plays you some way different, or you get in a place where or you got one of your better guys gone,
On, yeah.
and you bring somebody in, because what happens if this guy maybe he steps on a shoe, you're always hoping
Mm-hmm.
nobody's hurt or nobody has to, or this guy
Right.
got whatever reason the ref was on him that day, got 5 fouls. Okay, what are we going to do now with this group out there? If you've seen it before, then it becomes a little bit easier to make those decisions because you have that to go back to. And but the team does also. And I always, and when we're in those games, I'll remind them, hey, we've been here before. You remember when we were at Staley in the Hy-Vee Arena in June? Yeah, we've done this before. It was a different spot, it was a different time, and maybe a different atmosphere. But we have done this before. And so kind of reverting back, I think, is helpful for the players and to calm them down that, hey, this isn't new.
Yeah, this is a situation we've been in before, for sure. No, I like that a lot. To wrap up, Coach, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. Starting with this first one, thinking back on your coaching career, what is a specific moment from your coaching career that by sharing it, you think our listeners would be able to learn from?
Man, I think, and I mentioned it earlier, when I got on staff at Blue Valley Northwest and he really put me in charge of the huddle, I
Hmm.
think that is really where I got to learn a lot. Um, and when you're in charge of, I love deep diving into tape, whether it's watching the team with the team or watching it on my own, or just getting a tape from a coach who I think is good, or a team who I think does a lot of really good things, or runs some really good stuff, and just watching it. I think you can learn so much from film, not only on your team, but other teams. And when I got put in charge of doing that, I think that was the best studying I could ever do to become a head coach, because you get to see how other people do things, how other teams run things. If somebody has this personnel, what did they do? How did they win this game? How did they match up? What did they do defensively? And there's a lot of coaches that have a lot of good ideas out there. And I think, the film is what really helped me a lot, especially early in my coaching career.
So yeah, so much to definitely learn from that. The things that you see and the things that you pick up on, you can really get a good sense of the game and really learn a lot just from those film sessions for sure, Coach. To wrap up, Coach, I give every guest what I call kind of a 60-second soapbox. You can go over 60 seconds though. I'm not going to time you, but I like to use this as a platform to kind of let you get out kind of a final thought, a final message, just something that you want to leave the listeners with, and you can take it any direction, basketball and coaching wise, that you would like, but Coach, I want to go ahead and give you your soapbox here and kind of let you take it from here.
Oh, yeah. Hey, well, I appreciate it. Well, I think, doing these podcasts is a great. I listen to them as a coach. I think as a coaching community and as a coach, continuing to try and get better, the same thing you're coaching your players to do. But coaches getting better in the off season, whether that's listening to this podcast or some of the other really good basketball podcasts out there, reading books, watching tape on the good college teams, going to visit colleges and watching how they practice, how they set up practice, getting practice plans, but always trying to improve. I think we tell the players, like, always trying to get better, but I think us as coaches can continue to do that as well. And working together and having these conversations like on these podcasts is a good way to do that. And whether you were 0 and 25 or 25 and 0, everyone can always get better and be better the next season. And next season has nothing to do with this season, and always remembering that.
Awesome. Really well said, Coach. Appreciate you sharing that. And again, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about a great situation that you were in, and the unique challenges that comes with, having the talented guys that you had and get them to come together and create such a great run that you guys had last year. And really excited for you to keep going at it, bringing back the five guys that you have and putting the new guys into some different roles. And appreciate it, Coach. Go and have a great, successful offseason, great summer, and get after it again next year, Coach. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And thank you guys so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.